Hello and welcome to the Gone Traveling Podcast. We are looking at the BKT EuroCup and we are looking at round two. This is episode 3 of the 25-26 season. And with me this season is Marco Munno, communication specialist and collaborator with Sky Sport Italia, and La Giornata da Tipo. Getting good at that, eh? Marco, how are you doing?
Well, it's fine. It's fine. The season has started, and we're just watching all the first games, and we're excited about that.
We have 5 undefeated teams, 2 in Group A, 3 in Group B, and we have 5 winless teams, 3 in Group A, 2 in Group B, and one pretty big surprise being winless, though not necessarily if you look at the competition that they are playing. And I think let's jump into that team right away. And Marco, that is the game that you want to talk about. And so I will let you jump in.
Yeah, we got Turk Telekom, that it was like one of the favorite team.
Number 4 in my power rankings.
Yeah, and then if you look at the standings now, they got like 2 defeats, and they lost 2 games against team that already won both of their games. So you have to take everything into contest. But as for now, they got like 2 defeats, and the second one came against Bourg, that instead is, you can say, a bit of a surprise. And yesterday they had like Berg had to win their game 2 times basically, because they really had a huge start, and they were like up after the first 2 quarters of 11 points. And then Turk Telekom went back on the shoulders of Simonovic, and they got like a really huge third quarter of winning 24-10. And at the beginning of the fourth quarter, so Berg was under, but they managed to win. They showed a lot of pride, and also they got really an MVP candidate. We can say it after. Yeah, we got really a small sample of games. We got 2 games, but as for now, Darius McGee is really guiding his team. Also in crunch time, he's always starting strong the game. So against Trento and also against Turk Telekom, he was really strong in the beginning, scoring, creating advantages, and giving up the ball. And then in crunch time, because in the first game, like Berg blew up the opponent. Into this game in crunch time, Darius McGee was effective once again about shooting, and so about 3-point shooting. So he's really guiding his team, and yeah, basically they had to win the second time the game, to say, but they really had some a huge game to do that. So I think Berg is quite a surprise, but they fully deserve the first place into their group.
Yeah, Borg was actually 5th in my power rankings. So I really, I'm really happy with, that at least they've been confirming what I've been thinking about them. And I think we both did. I know I did. I had Darius McGee as a possible MVP candidate. In sort of that small guard coming over and playing in the Euro Cup. I didn't have Bochcat playing such a huge role. He had 21 points, South Sudanese guy. He was fantastic. And, Adam Akoka, I loved him coming over from Cluj. 17 points and really the dagger 3 to finish off Turk Telekom. Yeah, Turk Telekom. It just seems like their other weapons didn't really, weren't able to take hold and really impact the game. Losing at home against Ulm last week was a tough one, but that Ulm team is going to be pretty good. We'll talk about them later on as well. But yeah, Borg, congratulations, 2-0 start, really impressive. I'm going to go to the other. I'm going to go to the other group and talk about the game that I had as the top billing, and that is Hapoel Jerusalem against Cedevita Olimpija Ljubljana, and over in Group A. And yeah, Cedevita ended up winning 99-84. Massive second half. Big run between the third and fourth quarters to blow the game open. I think Jerusalem was a little tired. They played on Saturday in the United States against the Brooklyn Nets, lost 123-88. And I think that kind of maybe got into them a little bit in the second half. Yeah, I mean, Cedevita just, that monster, that three-headed monster, DJ Stewart was fantastic, right? Even from the very beginning. Stewart had 27, Nikolic had 22, Omaja Gibson 21, the back-to-back threes at the end to serve as the daggers. So they accounted for 71% of the points, 40% of the rebounds, 75% of the assists, 77% of the fouls drawn, and 80% of the team's PIR. So they were, they just did everything. But it wasn't just them. I mean, as strong as those guys were, I mean, Gerard hit 3 threes in that big run spanning third and fourth quarter. You also had Shkara who played played a pretty solid role. Radovic, this is a team that can do some things. And Blazic really didn't even do anything. He's like Mr. Consistency. Went scoreless in 18 minutes. So, I was really impressed with what Cedevita were able to do against a team that's really good. I mean, they held Harper to only 14 points. And they struggled with the big guy, Skapinets. But other than that, I think they did a really, really good job. So Cedevita at 2-0, and Jerusalem, that's a massive win. You think about the standings at the end of the season. That puts them ahead of them right now in the race for first place, or whatever, top 2, 3, whatever, with Bahcesehir's over there too. Ours, we'll talk about maybe too. But a 15-point win. So if they get into a 3-way tie with Jerusalem and somebody else, 15-point win's a big one.
Yeah, and we talked about big guys. We talked about being first on the standing and huge wins. And I think we have to mention like Bahcesehir into the same topics. I mean, they won a huge game against Venice by 19 points, 93-74, and they really closed the game after 3 quarters. So they were really huge, and they closed the game thanks to the if you want to say, like, thanks to the contribution of the big guys. And for sure the first one is to mention is the one of the MVP candidates from the beginning of the tournament. That is Trevion Williams. So he had like double. He got 16 points. He's got 10 rebounds only in 19 minutes because the game was kind of over, and they were so huge in about pushing out Venice of the contention, like after 2 quarters, and also being great under the basket. So you got Trevion Williams, but you got also Koprovica, and you got also the debut of Kavanagh, because he was missing the first game. So they got a lot of pieces, and they really made a difference about the on the rebounds. And we talked about Bahcesehir last week about the contribution of Malachi Flynn, but now we're talking about their big men. So we are talking about a squad that has got a strong backcourt, a strong front court, and they got a lot of weapons. And seems like they mixed up all together, at least now, from the beginning. And if they want to have a push to the win after the semifinals of the last season, seems like they're really in a good spot. I mean, with Williams, you got a huge guy that can really put up numbers and can really make his presence felt to the opponent, and that's what happened as for now.
Yeah, Trevion Williams, you mentioned he was an MVP candidate 2 years ago with Ulm in the league, and went over to the EuroLeague, Alba Berlin, and Maccabi, and took a quote step down, if you want to, but Bahcesehir obviously, with big goals to reach the EuroLeague. So yeah, Ryer, okay, winless, and neither of us really expected massive things. I think you're a little bit higher on Ryer than I am, but still, didn't really think that there would be that they would give Bahcesehir that much of a test. And 5 points in the third quarter ain't gonna do it. So my guy that I want to talk about is the next whirlwind for Cluj. Just so the last 2 seasons for Cluj, their main guard last year was, of course, Xavier Simpson, who was just fantastic. Any idea who it was 2 years ago? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but it is somebody we have talked about on this show already. I won't let you think too long. Bryce Jones, baby. Bryce Jones, and Bryce Jones fits perfectly in that same sort of category. So Darren Fats Russell, Cluj had a massive game in a 107-102 win at Neptūnas in Lithuania. 1-1 is now Cluj. 37 points, 7 threes, 5 assists, 14 fouls drawn, 38 PIR, and Russell, he scored 10 points in the first half and then 27 in the second half. This is a guy that we're gonna. I watched that first game last week and I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna love watching this guy." He's a Philly kid and he has that sort of Philly feeling to him too. So Philly, is also where Kobe Bryant's from. That's he was a big Kobe Bryant fan growing up. Began his professional career in Montenegro and has set a league record, 47 points with Mornar Bar. Actually just gained Romanian citizenship. So he'll play with the national team too, which is obviously we'll see in the November window. That'll be a huge addition. And if you're wondering, I was doing research and as somebody who was in Germany, I know the name Dwayne Russell pretty well, and that's his brother. And so he played in Dwayne Russell played in Karlsheim, Treviso, Oldenburg, and in Oldenburg he led the league in scoring, the German BBL in scoring, and it was also twice led the league in assists. And they were both playing in Turkey last season, and Dwayne Russell's playing over in Spain now at Breogán. So yeah, Fats Russell, gotta love him. Just so much fun, and he's the main reason why I will try to watch as much Cluj as possible.
Yeah, and also about Bryce Jones, Aris won another game. And then if we were talking about atmosphere, It was maybe the best images of atmospheres into this round from the Aris court. And then we mentioned a lot of another team. We mentioned Ulm, and maybe Ulm is maybe the best surprise. They got 2-0, and they're also an interesting team. We are always watching Ulm for the development of their young guns, of the young people. And then we got now a team that has the pleasure to shoot threes. So they scored 15 threes into the first game. They scored 16 threes into the second game. They're undefeated, counting also the BBL. So they're like 5 games and 5 victories, and they're also the not only volume but also efficiency, because they're the first team about shooting 3 points shooting percentage. Is the only team above 50%. They're 53.4%. So you think like they can spread the court, because you got all these shooters, and but you need a presence inside. And I think when they signed Sengfeld, who is
Christian Sengfelder.
yeah, Christian Sengfelder, who is that presence, this summer it made a lot of noise. Also because you think like an experienced player with a lot 35 caps into the national team can really be a bit of a guide for a team that has a lot of young lions. And that's what's really happening yesterday. Sengfelder was the best one on his team, I think, next to Smith. But yesterday he was like, in just 15 minutes he went like 20 points, 7 rebounds, also offensive rebounds that gave extra shots, or let him make some of these points into the paint. And he wrote a book in 2020 about his experience, his journey into the basketball world, and he's really giving a lot of help to the young guys around. So yesterday, with a court that was really spread for all the shooters, he was a presence inside. He had his one-on-one games. He was always under the basket, and then he also get to shoot some threes and just score that. And also he's got like 0 turnover, that is so important when you need like to find your balance, to find your equilibrium. And as for now, Ulm won a game that was not really into their kind of game. So because it was a high scoring game against Panionios, in which Jelen was a second time really important to the Greek team after the first round. But they managed to win, and they never went really far about with their advantage, but they were always in front. And at the end they won. And I think with Sengfelder they got the experience that really balances the youngsters contributions. So as for now, yeah, they're a surprise, but I think balance and consistency, that was a word that you used before, are the keys for at least for that win, and maybe for this beginning of Ulm that has no defeats as for now.
So the long path to a basketball professional was actually written by Henning Kuhl, so not exactly by Christian Sengfelder, but it was basically about his journey. He wrote as an author and whatnot. Yeah, but that was, for me, that was major headlines, because a 30-year-old A German big are always a little bit more expensive, harder to get. And he had his taste of going abroad. It was in France, and really a nice addition. And a lot of those other guys that they brought in, Ledlum and Mark Smith, those are really nice additions. And to be honest, at the other end, Panionios has really surprised me. Jalen Hines obviously had the massive threes to win the game, but had a great game. I like this team a lot more than I thought I would. They were way down in my power rankings to start the season. Marco Starks is really strong. Michalis Luntzis, obviously Greek international for a long time. Matt Lewis, there's a nice little core there. So Panionios, they gave Ulm a lot to handle. You mentioned that they're number one in offense and 3-pointers. They've also given up 96 and 93 points. So, they've had to score those. And I know coach is probably saying, listen, guys, we need to play a little defense, and with so many new pieces, it's kind of hard to get there. But they'll get that guy there. My surprise is, and we were actually talking in the preview podcast episode about rising star candidates. And you mentioned Sheikh Niang, obviously the younger brother of Saliud Niang. And then you kind of mentioned Patrick Hassan, and I'm like, who's actually a year older than Niang. But I thought, no way. I had seen, I'd watched some of Hassan at the under-18 European champion Eurobasket this past summer. And as a point guard, and not a big point guard, and, not, extremely athletic or anything like that, I thought, no way, this is way too early. And then he pops up and he played only 31 seconds in the first game. This is Dolomiti Energia Trento, who absolutely shocked Bourg-en-Bresse 107-96. They scored 107 points after scoring 48 at home against Bourg, and Bourg-en-Bresse gave up 107 after giving up 59 to London in London. So shock is the absolute word, because you didn't have Khalif Battle, you didn't have DJ Stewart, and then Hassan comes on. Get back to Hassan. 31 seconds, and he plays 27 minutes. Starts at point guard, 11 points, 5 of 12 shooting, 1 of 7 on threes, but really open threes. 5 rebounds, an assist, a block of Farrell. Okay, whatever, but blew my mind, having seen him, over the summer, okay, not live, but, on video, seeing him, and then to see him starting at a EuroCup game, just absolutely blew my mind how far he's come. So congratulations to Patrick Hassan, a massive win for Trento. And I'll let you talk as well. I mean, you mentioned Niang. Actually, no. I'll bring it up really quick because you told me ahead of time before we recorded. His actually younger sister, he's 07, and younger sister is Isabel Hassan, has been playing for who's actually with Ryer Venice. Is actually so Hassan. I'm sorry, I'm kind of scatterbrained here. Hassan, it has some trophies. I mean, he was at the under-16 Eurobasket in 23 when Italy took second place, and was in the final of the under-17 World Cup. That he was part of that massive 2007 generation with Garavaglia, Swigo, Lonetti. And so that he was part of that generation. But the younger sister, 2009, this summer she played her third women's U16 Eurobasket. Last summer played at the under-17 World Cup, and also this summer played the under-18 Eurobasket. So probably better than better than the older brother. So absolutely crazy. I know you want to talk about Sheik, so I'll let you talk about him. And just one last thing before I let you take over is that this is a team that um, you know they have like a guy that could be their father, and sort of like an older father even, with Toto Foray. And but obviously, Devontae Jones, massive game with 24 points and 7 assists. But talk about the other kid then.
Yeah, it seems like Trento is really paying attention to the families of basketball. So they got both Niang, and now Saliu is spreading his wing, like being huge in EuroLeague. He was very good at the Eurobasket, and now it's the turn of Cheik. And there were some whispers that Sheikh has got more offensive talent than the brother at the same age. And but there were whispers because he didn't really play with the first team before this season. And I think Trento shift their mood with a huge win, 40-point win into the Italian league after the brutal defeat into the first game of EuroCup. And Niang is always making some waves with the huge slam, with offensive game, with offensive plays that really bring some points to the to Trento. And he seems a bit different than his brother because his brother is more defensive minded, but they really seem a good couple. And a good couple is also the Hassan. I mean, they're coming from Rome, then they spread their wings uh, to the bigger club. And every time you're watching more Isabel than Patrick, but Patrick is on Trento now. Trento is really investing on young guns, on young guys, and when they want them to play, they let them play a lot of times. So yesterday, for instance, the absence of Stewart, that is the main focus on offense, was really could be really a huge blow. And then Niang and Hassan played. They made some mistakes that young guys does. And when Skylar Mays tried to uh, shift the game to Budućnost, he was really being nearly successful. But then both Niang and Hassan and all the team was really giving a huge effort into the third quarter, and they really wrapped up for a huge win in abroad. And yeah, it seems like the whole project, the whole young youth project of Trento, who's led by Marco Crespi, who's often linked to the first teams, is really working, is really producing players. Last season we had Badalau, who was into the starting five multiple times. And then this year seems like the year of Niang, the year of Hassan maybe. So really scoring 107 points abroad is really impressive.
It's crazy, man, especially without those guys. Um, yeah, but to be honest, you haven't convinced me yet. I don't, I don't, I don't necessarily see them getting out of the group out of the group yet. We'll see. Especially with Panionios playing much better than I thought they were going to be playing. We did actually. You talked about Ulm and the kids that they had, and I wrote an article about Diego Garavaglia, and he mentioned that Trento was one of the teams that they were actually after him, and they would have actually been able to obviously play him. It would have been interesting to see him there, but obviously he's in Ulm. Before we talk about the next round, I did want to you really briefly mentioned it, and was Aris. They beat Hamburg 98-76 to move to 2-0 in Group A. They had their new owner there, 24-year-old Canadian entrepreneur, Richard Ezio. And he took over the team as the owner. Former EuroLeague champion Nico Zizas. Obviously, we mentioned when we were talking about them in the preview. Is the new general manager. But Hizio was at the game, at the Aris home game, the home opener in the EuroCup, and the club also invited, Nick Gallis, and obviously he's a legend in all of Greek basketball, and obviously made his history, a big chunk of history there with Aris. So, again, it's not something we talked about this week. They beat Hamburg, but I did want to mention it because some really nice scenes there, and we're gonna have to see. You have to imagine that this owner is gonna be, he's probably got money, and so he'll probably say, look, if we need something, Jesus knows what's going on. And that's a hungry fan base, and they're, Pauk went to the final of the FIBA Europe Cup last year, and obviously Aris is gonna want to take, is at least want to be number one in the city. So I did want to mention that. Anything else you want to talk about in round two before we move on to round three?
No, I think we mentioned Aris, we mentioned Cedevita, and in round three we got the clash between the two teams. So I think maybe that's the first thing that you want to see next round.
Well, give me the games you're watching next week then.
Yeah, I
Or this
think
week.
Cedevita and Aris should be the match to see. And then you got maybe Turk Telekom, who's got their last call, not really the last call, but they need to start winning. And also we got maybe two surprises. We got Panionios and Bourg.
I'm not going to let you call Berg a surprise all season. Remember, this is the finalists 2 years ago. They reached the final 2 years ago. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago? 2 years ago. Whatever. Yeah, Cedevita Aris. Yeah, Turk Telekom. Yeah, the fact that they lost to the two top teams in the group right now, the 2 undefeated teams, gives them a little bit of leeway. But they probably should, because you don't want to go in a 0-3 hole, and Budućnost, they're gonna, Budućnost, I don't know. You go from, limiting London to 56 and then giving up 107 to Trento. And yeah, Panionios and Bourg, to see what kind of, Panionios is, kind of exciting guard group, and obviously you have Bourg. So, yeah, that's what I got as well. Again, so next week's show, there's also on Thursday, London has Treviso. And so next week's show, we will not be talking about London and Treviso, and not Treviso, Trento. So we will not be talking about London and Trento next week. I apologize again for London. We didn't talk about you after in episode 2, looking at round 1. And we're going to do the same thing in round 3, episode 4, because we're not going to be waiting around an extra day just to talk about your one game. Sorry, but we want to stick to our schedule. And if the copper box ain't free, it ain't our fault, right, Marco?
Yeah. I hope they start winning, so you're kind of forced to talk about them.
There you go. We haven't had any reason to talk about them yet.
Yeah.
All right, Marco, tell everybody how they can follow you, find you on the social medias.
Yeah, mostly on Twitter as Marco A. Munno, who is my complete name. And yeah, I said Twitter. It's X now, but sometimes I still use Twitter.
Munno, Marco Munno.
Yeah.
Okay, and I am at Hein News, HEINNEWS, Hein News, David Hein. That's been episode 3, and looking at round 2 of the BKT EuroCup. We will enjoy the action in round 3. Obviously, there will be some fun, exciting games and an upset here or here or there. So, Marco, enjoy, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks to everybody.